Coming up, we've prepared a special program for those of you living and working in the greater Boston area. As many of you already know, Tuesday, November 5th, marks the first time in 20 years that a new mayor will be elected to serve the people of the city of Boston. Holding that seat since 1993, Mayor Thomas Menino made history as Boston's longest-serving mayor before announcing his decision to retire from the position at the end of this term. And now, on November 5th, voters will head to the polls to elect as mayor one of the two Democratic finalists remaining from last month's primary, Boston City Councilor John Connolly and State Representative Martin Walsh. To assist you, the voters, in making a clear, concise, and informed decision in casting your vote, we've created a video compilation taken from our previous interviews with the two finalists. I hope that you find today's program to be both insightful and inspiring as you head out to the polls to choose the next mayor to lead the city of Boston on Tuesday, November 5th. Hello and welcome to Common Ground, an inside look at Suffolk County. I'm your host, Sheriff Steve Tompkins. Well, we've come to the end of our interviews with all of the Boston mayoral candidates, and today we're going to begin with State Rep Martin Walsh from Dorchester. He is a good guy. You all know him. Marty's all over the place. He's been a big friend to the Sheriff's Department. He was a big friend to the former Sheriff, Sheriff Andrew Cabral. And so we've got him here talking about, why you folks should look at him seriously to give him your vote to be the next mayor. So without any further ado, Marty.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thanks for
it's
coming
good to be on again.
Really glad to have you here. First and foremost, before we get into the meat of it, how you feeling? How's it going? How's your body?
My body's good.
Eating well, drinking a lot of
I'm
water?
not eating that well, but I'm trying to do all right. I eat a good meal at the end of the day. I'm down about 20 pounds.
Wow.
Which is good.
You look good.
The suits feel good.
Yeah.
I pulled in a couple of pants the other day. Yeah. They look like brand new pants, so I feel great.
You feel good?
Yeah.
Let's start with education. A lot of folks want to know where the next mayor is going to take the education department. What's your platform on that?
Well, my platform is we clearly have to continue to better our schools in Boston, and we have some good schools in the city. When this race started, I went around and visited a ton of schools, and just two quick examples: the Elliott School down in the North End, and the Harvard Kent in Charlestown. And the Elliott School is a school that's turned around, and the principal down there and the teachers are engaged, the parents are engaged, and you see a lot of excitement in the school. We need to continue to add to that excitement by adding more programs. One of the classes, the principal brought me in, and there was a teacher teaching the kids music and dance. And it wasn't a dance teacher or a music teacher, it was a teacher doing it on their own. And we have to add more programs to the school so we can bring more arts into the program, into the school, and I think that's important. The Harvard Kent over in Charlestown is a level 3 school. And there's excitement in that school as well. And when I was talking to the principal, he was explaining to me that because they're level 3, they don't really qualify for additional funds. We have to do better than that. We have to be able to get funds into all our schools to be able to improve the education, to take it from a level 3 and move it up. And we can do that. So we're close in those schools. And there's other schools that the challenges are far greater. And we have to do more than just simply throw money at the solution. We have to look and change the culture in the school and with the principal, and making sure that the principals are consistent in what they do across the board, and make sure the teachers are buying into what we want to do. And we can do that.
Speaking of the teachers, how would you work with the Boston Teachers Union to make sure that you realize all of the things that you just talked about?
Well, in 2010, up at the legislature, I voted to do education reform, and in that piece of legislation, it was an agreement that couldn't be reached between the union and the mayor's office, and mayors around the state. So what we did some legislation that was able to change some of the collective bargaining rules within the school. My approach with the teachers union, and I've had this conversation with them, is that I'm gonna come to you and ask you for some changes in your contract, and hopefully get those changes. If we don't get those changes, then, and I don't want to do this, but I'll go to the legislature. But I think we do it as a partnership, and I think teachers want to improve the quality of education in the schools. They want to be able to turn around. They want to be proud. They don't go into the profession not to teach kids. They go into the profession to teach kids. And I think by having these conversations with the teachers and open dialogue is a long way to go. Around the country, you have the administrations battling the unions, and that might work, but it shouldn't be that way in Boston. In Boston, we should work together. And I have a labor background, and I think with my labor background, having the understanding of knowing what compromise is and what negotiation is, I will work to get the best deal for the city of Boston, and more importantly, the best deal for the kids in our system. So that's one of the pieces. We also have a major problem in our city. Well, and this is a major problem with the schools. We have an infrastructure problem. We have 80 schools built between 1870 and 1927 in the city of Boston. And I said 1870, 1927, that are currently in existence in Boston. And we had kids this summer going to summer school that they plugged fans in to cool the rooms down. I mean, that's a problem. And the city hasn't taken advantage, or they have in 2 occasions, of the school building authority up on Beacon Hill. So what we're proposing is taking the construction away from the school department and setting up a separate entity to deal with the construction, come up with a plan on looking at our schools citywide. How do we improve our schools in every neighborhood so that we can go back to having some strong neighborhood buildings in our area, build an administration in that building so people will feel like we want to send our kid to the school down the street because it's clean, it's new, it's fresh, and also the administration there is new. And I think those are some of the things we're going to do. I'm going to take the meals tax, dedicate it to this fund so we can bond new schools. And also I'm going to work with the state on the school building authority. In Boston, if we want to build an $80 million school, the state will reimburse us at 75%. So the state will pick up $60 million. City's on the hook for 20. We haven't taken advantage of this program. We need to take advantage. Every other city and town in the state has taken advantage, built new schools, and the kids have new schools. We really haven't done it in Boston.
Let me ask you about what you would be looking for in your school superintendent.
Yeah.
What qualities are you looking for in that person?
I mean, I certainly want somebody that understands the school system from K to 12. I mean, I think that we have to get somebody that looks at the system. By taking the construction away, that's a big burden off of that person's plate. Obviously, that person will be in charge of making sure when we look at the plan where we're gonna renovate schools and where we're gonna build new schools. But it has to be a person that understands the education. There's changes coming to the way we test our kids in this country. So they have to be an expert on that. They have to be able to read numbers and read data. A lot of times we don't have that ability. We're not following data enough to track our kids to see where they are in their growth and their learning. Also, I think we need a person, there was been nationwide searches. The last superintendent, Carol Johnson, came from Tennessee, and she's a great lady, nice lady. I think we might have some homegrown talent right here in Massachusetts, and we need to say, do we have that person here in Massachusetts? It has to be an innovative thinker, somebody who's different. We've tried the way to do it with the superintendents over and over, and to some success. In some cases, there's some victories. I mean, you can't be completely critical of this system. The dropout rate has gone down. Attracting kids back into the school system has happened. So we have some successes here. We're just going to continue to build on those. And I'd expect my superintendent to see what the best past practice has been, and also learn off of private schools and learn off of charter schools.
Talk to me, as my last question in the education segment, about the Boston public schools versus the charter schools. Where do you come down in that discussion?
Well, I'm a board member of Neighborhood House Charter School, which is a Commonwealth charter school in Dorchester, and I support that school. That school has many kids, over 500 kids from the neighborhood that go to school there, or close to the neighborhood, and that school's successful. I mean, and it's something that I'm proud of as far as being supportive of that school. We need to make sure our public schools, all of our public schools, have that same success. We need to make sure they have the same ability to be able to be successful. Neighborhood House Charter School, the teachers, the parents, and the principals work together to improve the education. We need to give some of that same autonomy to our schools individually. Every challenge in the schools are different. It's kind of a competing interest, the Commonwealth charter schools and the public school system. I'm running for mayor of Boston. I'm running to be the head of the school department, not necessarily, but I will be in charge of the schools. My goal is to make sure that our schools, I find them better than they were. I leave them better than they were.
Talk to me about public safety. You know that since the marathon event, we've had a shooting a day in some of our urban centers. Where do you come down on public safety and working with the police and working with the community organizations to safeguard individuals, their lives, and their property?
Yeah, that's one of the focal points of my campaign. I mean, dealing with the issues of the gang violence on the street and the young kids shooting each other. And, by improving the educational system and strengthening our high school system, which we're going to do, bringing Votech schools back and partnering with other businesses, we want to keep kids in school. So that takes care of the problem in the coming years. But we really have to look at what's going on in our streets. We're immune to it, I think, in a lot of places. When the marathon bombing happened, we were all watching. Everyone's kind of glued to CNN. That next day, there was a shooting. I believe 4 people got shot in Hyde Park. We read about the newspaper, and what do? We turn the page. We need to stop turning the page. We need to address the problems. I think the police are an integral part of that. I think we need to look at the police and how do we get the police into the streets more? How do we diversify the police force, particularly in the upper echelon of the police department? We have to get the respect of the community back into the police department in some neighborhoods in the city of Boston. And I think we need to do that sooner rather than later. And we also need to look at what are the challenges that these people, when I say these people, these young, some of them are young kids, some of them are older too. lack of education, poverty. There's a whole bunch of different issues here, and we have to address it once and for all. You do it in the jail. I mean, you and I have had many conversations about people re-entering into society. You know, they might pick up some skills in the jail, and I know you do some great programming there, but we need to do more than that. We need to get them before they go into jail, because once they're in jail, it's too late. Right. You know, the networking they do in jail, and I look at it based on economics. These are poor people that are committing this crime. You know, it's not a black-white issue, it's a poor person issue, and it happens in a lot of neighborhoods, and we have to address this issue. The Boston Globe did a story the other day on poverty in Boston. They were dead on, and when you look at the challenges in Boston, and it's amazing. As running for mayor, one of the things I've experienced is we have a lot of poverty in the city, and the gap between the poverty and the middle class here in Boston is tremendous. So if we want to improve the school system, if we want to make our streets safer, if we want to continue more housing, workforce housing, we need to address the poverty issue.
Recently, Eric Holder basically sent out a directive to all of his folks saying that they really need to look at the number of people they incarcerate, particularly low-level criminals, mostly folks that are dealing with substance abuse. Yeah. Do you think that he was right in saying that we jail too many people? We should really look at how we're doing that, because not only are we hurting society, if you look at my facility, it's $46,000 per person to incarcerate, but family units are also being broken up when guys are going away for 5, 10, 20 years. Where do you come down on that?
I mean, I think when you have a drug dealer in the street and you get him off the street, him or her off the street, you put him in jail, okay? But what we have is a lot of addicts, people that are using, and they commit a crime. And if you take the drugs or alcohol out of their system, they don't commit the crime. And we see it over and over again. I want to say, you know, we can go to any court tomorrow. We can go to South Boston District Court tomorrow and just hang in the lobby there. And you know, 80% of the people that walk through that door that are going in front of a judge, they were high or drunk. And so we have to deal with that. This is a society problem. And one thing that I'm proposing in my office, in my Public Health Commission, is an Office of Addiction Services. So we truly can work to address the problem. You know, we've tried drug courts in this Commonwealth. Drug courts are a great idea. However, you know, every drug court's different. We need to be more consistent with it. We need to partner. I need to partner with the Sheriff's Department on how do we consistently deal with the issue of drugs and alcohol.
Additionally, mental health.
And mental health is another piece of it. I mean, and Liz Malia, the chairwoman of mental health and substance abuse at the State House, has done some great work around this. And the legislature actually is funded. This is one area the legislature has funded pretty well over the past 10 years. But we need to do more. And we, you know, Mr. Holder, I actually put a statement on my webpage agreeing with him. I think that, you know, by incarcerating folks that have drug and alcohol addictions, some need to be incarcerated, to be honest with you, but we don't have to incarcerate everyone. We need to get them into programming and treatment, and I think that's really something we have to look to the courts to do. You know, even probation officers, some handle it differently. Some understand it and they kind of steer people towards treatment, and some people don't. They put them into jail. Jail's not going to work, and some people just don't belong in there. Bad people do.
What would you do for your police commissioner? Would you keep Commissioner Davis, or would you look to switch him out?
Well, what we're going to do, every position every position is open. I mean, I'm not going to make a commitment today. It's a little too early. I mean, the commissioner has some very strong strengths, and there's been some press lately about him that concerns me a little bit about the promotional exams and things like that. And we'll make that decision after I get elected mayor of Boston. But I'm looking at every department head. I mean, the folks that I think that have done a great job, they will stay. The folks that I think have done an okay job, we'll look and see what changes we'll make.
Talk to me about jobs and job creation, particularly